Hi, it's Terri Gaines. In this video, I'm going to give you assembly instructions for my May 2022 Fun Fold project. In the packet you receive, you have your postcard with the instructions, the supplies for a miniature card. We'll assemble those second. I emailed you the PDF with all the supply list of the tools and the materials that I use to prepare your packet. My goal is to give you assembly instructions, give you tips on assembling, and show you everything you need so you can duplicate the card, which includes showing you how I prepared the packet. So in the assembly of this, you will need your own adhesive, which is a double-sided adhesive, your favorite. I'm going to use the Stampin' Seal, mini glue dots, and some dimensionals. So to get started, we're going to do the main card first. As I mentioned, I'm going to give you assembly tips. Before we actually start assembly, we want to do our stamping. You're going to use your own inks and stamps. So we need sentiment stamps for this card. And depending on whether you have an early espresso or a basic black in your packet will determine what color you want to use for your ink. Or you can use any other color that coordinates with the designer series paper. And let me explain why you may have early espresso or basic black in your packet. The designer series paper that I'm using or we're using in the packet for embellishing is from the Hues of Happiness designer series paper, and you have a 2" by 5 1/4" strip of this designer series paper. You may have the top or the bottom portion. If you have the bottom portion, you're going to have one of these flowers in your packet, and if you have the top portion, you're going to have one of these flowers in the packet. Now the flowers in this packet have a black center, and the flowers in this packet have an early espresso center. So that's why I determined which color cardstock was going to go in your packet by which flower and which designer series paper you had. So you want to stamp your sentiment. I'm using the coordinating sentiment, but you can use any sentiment. And I've done that ahead of time to save some time. Now you can pause the video as you stamp your banners with an outside sentiment on the smallest one and an inside sentiment on the larger one. The other prep work we need to do is cut out this flower. You can fussy cut it with your paper snips, or if you have the dies, you can cut it out with the dies. A tip on the dies, one of the petals has a little divot on it. I find that same petal on the paper and line that up and cut that out. And then you have a die that will cut out the leaf. You can also fussy cut these out. Do not worry about any imperfections because this is going to be layered onto basic white cardstock. And the beauty of that, and this is a tip, it camouflages any imperfection. So if you aren't perfect going around trimming that off, don't worry about it. If we were putting that on a colored cardstock, it would show every imperfection. So by putting it on basic white, we're going to camouflage that. So that's the prep work. You want to cut out the flower and the leaf and have those two stamped. And then we are ready for assembly. And as I mentioned, I'm going to share how I prepped the packet. So for the cardstock, we have an 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 scored at 4 1/4 and folded for our card base. It tells out that we want to cut or punch out an opening in the front panel. What I did was I used the stylish dies, which was also what I used for the banners. These are new in the annual catalog. And I cut out my window looking for equal spacing on the sides and about the same spacing on the top. Left room for our outside banner. I ran that through the die cutting machine. Then while I had it folded, I actually put it in the painted texture folder and ran that through my cut and emboss machine to texturize it. You could stamp this also, but I just love that subtle design you get with embossing. So that is the prep work. It does tell us that when we cut out this window, you want to save that cutout or cut out a new one. I cut out a new one for everybody. That's where you're going to have the basic black or the early espresso. So we've got that cut out. So we're going to set both of these aside. Then we have a designer series paper cardstock that is 8 by 5 1/4. You can use white or vanilla. And it is scored at 4 inches and at 6. At the 4-inch fold, you're going to fold it in a valley fold. This fold is going to be on the right-hand side. And then this 6-inch is going to be a mountain fold. So you basically fold it into like an accordion fold. Now this is going to be on the right, and this is going to be on the left. And at the very bottom it says decorate or embellish the inside of the card. Well, I actually want to do that beforehand, so that's where the designer series paper is going to go. We are going to put that 2 by 5 1/4 inch designer series paper on just this, or on this side. I'm going to use the Simply Scoring tool to help me with alignment. You can use the Stamparatus also, because it's got this wall in the corner. So I like to put this card up to the wall here, up to the wall there. Take my piece with my adhesive, hold it up, and then what I can do is, while I keep it held up so the adhesive doesn't touch, and once I hit that far wall, I can place it down. That gives me a better alignment here for my for layering that. That's how I like to do that. So now once you have that, we're going to adhere this base to this inside. This fold on the right, this fold on the left. So use your favorite adhesive, and we will have about 1/8 of an inch spacing on all 4 sides. So what I like to do, make sure I put this on right, I like to look at the top and bottom and the end. I turn it sideways to kind of get that view and get that in place. Okay. So now we have attached the back panel with the fold on the right to the card base. We're going to close the card, and we're going to be adhering this cutout back into this window only on this panel. So while you have it closed, that's going to give you, oops, I got a little bit of adhesive up there. We don't want no adhesive on this portion, just on that portion. What I like to do is have that hold all of that down, start my alignment where I do not have adhesive, get that all fit in like a puzzle piece, and let the other side drop in and burnish that down, and you've got that attached. And now we're to the end where it says to decorate. Now we're going to decorate. So we have our inside and outside sentiment, and we have our flower and leaf, and you have an additional layer of basic white. That's the next circle down. I'm going to put this on first. I'm going to adhere this with my regular adhesive. Look for equal spacing, place that down. I'm going to put the flower on next. What I like to do is add a little bit of dimension to it. I just curve it this direction, and then I just take the ends and just curve those up a little bit. And I like to use dimensionals. I only use 2 right in the middle. They're strong enough, and that's all you really need. And I leave this area open. That allows me to tuck the leaf underneath a little bit, and I don't have to worry about hitting that adhesive. So I'm going to place this down. Now our goal is, well, let me first prep this. I'm going to prep that down a little bit, turn those tips up a little bit, take 1 dimensional and place it right here. Now the tip for putting this on, we don't want to have anything beyond this colored circle on the right hand side. It's okay if it goes over on the left side, because it's how the card opens. If it hung over, you couldn't open it this way, but because you're opening it and you've got movement over here, you're okay if it hangs over a little bit on that side. So I would just suggest maybe to have your leaf going off on that direction. And our outside banner is going to go down here. I'm going to put or adhere it with dimensionals. I'm going to put 1 dimensional right in the center and 1 on each end. And take your pick tool to get those backings off. And then I'm going to look for equal spacing on the two sides and kind of in here and here. And that's the outside of the card. I absolutely love this card. And then this banner is going to be adhered down here, but only to this panel. To do that, I'm going to turn it over, put my adhesive right on the end, and then I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive right here. And now I can place this down, look for equal spacing on the sides, and there I have my banner just on that side. This is where you can sign the card. It's hidden until it gets open, and then you can close the card like that, and then those leaves will pop up on the top. Absolutely love this designer series paper, and I think this is a fun fold card. I have another couple samples to show you after we assemble this. And let's get to this miniature card. As I mentioned, you can pause to get caught up. I'm going to just keep assembling our project here. Everything's prepped for our assembly. The cutout I use for this one is actually a die from the seasonal labeled dies. I use this, and your opening can be any shape. I might have failed to tell you that, but any shape, as long as it's just in that front panel. So this is also ran through the Timber 3D folder to get some texture. And we're going to save this cutout for our opening. We're not creating a new one. Your your basic white papers, cardstock is already prepped for you. It's scored. So we're going to fold this in half to get our first score to be a mountain fold or a valley fold. So when I say mountain and valley, if this is the front, a valley's like that and a mountain's like that. So we have that. We also have designer series paper. This is part of the host reward packet, and we're going to adhere that just to this side panel. And you will use your favorite adhesive, put on the back of this. I'm going to use the Simply Scoring tool again. I love using that to get that alignment. I don't do a good job if I don't use that. Now we're going to have the fold on the card on the right, on the left, this on the right, and put our adhesive down. We have about 1/8 of an inch spacing on this also, so look for your equal spacing. And then we're going to close this, and just on that white piece is where your adhesive goes. Going to put our adhesive across there. I don't worry about getting right to the edge. It's strong enough that if you have it in the middle, you're good. Now hold this up so it does not hit that adhesive. Hold it on an angle to get the side with no adhesive lined up, and then let the rest fall into place. So to embellish this, you have a stamina leaf. This is from this bow punch. And then you have a flower from the flower and leaves punch, which is the smaller one. So what we're going to do is put this one on with mini glue dots. So mini glue dots, a couple ways you can use that. You can bring your project right up to the mini glue dot and grab them. I'm going to put the mini glue dot on the bottom two leaves and the very top one. And there we go. Now, whoops. This is going to go, we want this to stay within the label cutout. We don't want that to go beyond that. For the flower, I'm going to take the bone folder and just curve the petals up a little bit to give some dimension to them. I'm actually going to attach it with a dimensional, and dimensional should hide right behind it. And then I'm going to just place it right like so. In your packet, you have an embellishment. This is the opal, what are they called? The opal rounds. They've two different sizes, and you got the size in your packet is the larger one, and then there's a smaller one, and they've got that pretty sparkle to them. So you just have a little bit of plastic there to hold on to. I'm going to use my paper snips as like a little pliers to pick that up. So that is our miniature sample of what the bifold window card is. So this can be adhered to your instruction postcard so you have a visual next time you want to create this project, and you have the written instructions there. So I hope you enjoyed this fun fold card. Let me bring a couple samples in. So this is the one I just assembled. Here's the one, a couple more in different colors. These are a couple different colors that you might have in your packet. I created one with the squares instead of the circle, which I love that look, but here's a tip for you. With the circle, you're lining equal spacing up the two sides and the top. With the square, you also have to try to get that square straight, and I don't think I got that straight, so this might be the one and only that I use a square with, just because you've got a little bit more alignment to do, but you've got that option. It turns out great. The very first one I made, I just put the circle right in the middle, and I realized that I wanted to put it up a little bit to put the sentiment on the outside. But you have the freedom of having that anywhere on that panel and as big as you want it to be, just like this shows a bigger image on that card. I hope you enjoyed this fun fold card. Thank you so much for placing a qualifying order. And thanks again. Take care and happy creating.